All Arkansas, all sports. It's more sports.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Wes Moore. Glad you're with us. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Monday night. A lot to get to tonight. We're going to name our high school football player of the week. It is Enoch Assan out of Greenbrier. I got the chance to catch up with him and Randy Tribble a little earlier today. So we will have that interview with you for you in just a few minutes. So we're also going to talk some Razorback football, and there's a lot to get to after what happened in Oxford. We're going to bring in Kevin Bohannon, one of my buddies from hogsports.com. What's up, Kevin? How are you,
What?
man?
Hey, doing good, Wes. Just recovering from the weekend and getting ready to go to the Liberty Bowl this week, coming up week.
Yeah, back-to-back trips to the East Arkansas. Those East Arkansas fans are excited about the Ole Miss game, and then, of course, the very following Saturday, a trip to Memphis.
Absolutely. And I made the comment in the advanced look on hogsports.com that the Memphis game makes more sense to me than Arkansas State does. It's a G5 school. If you're wanting to get your guys ready for SEC play, play Memphis. And they played every year from 92 to 95. Took a little break, but it's been 27 years since Arkansas has played the University of Memphis or Memphis State.
I think it's going to be fun. It'll be, of course, the stadium renovation's still going on, but there'll be plenty of Arkansas fans there. There's going to be a lot of Memphis fans there. They're going to be. I saw a report today. They think it's going to be the first capacity, even though it's not true capacity yet because of the renovation. But they feel like this will be the largest crowd that'll be in there since they've started the renovations.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see. And I went a little nostalgic on the article this morning and put the Liberty Bowl picture from '09 in there, and you can see just the atmosphere. Liberty Bowl has always been one of my favorite places to go. Lived in Memphis for 2 years while I was playing for Rhodes College over there, and it's just a fun atmosphere. And whether there's 40 or 55,000 people there, Arkansas's I think they're going to rebound really well this weekend.
I think the defense of coaches probably have the attention of a lot of defensive players. Let's start there because the first half was bad. I mean, second quarter especially, the missed assignments, the alignment issues, just the coverage issues. There were a lot of things. What really bothered you the most?
I think it was the lack of effort on some of the long runs. Daquan Wright catches a 15-yard in route and he sprints 61 yards. That's a 6'4", 255-pound tight end. And it just didn't look like there was much effort on some of those plays. When Austin Simmons on one leg ran 8.5 yards on 3rd and 8 down near the goal line, Arkansas held them to 3.7 yards per rush, but they didn't have to. They really didn't. They just lined up in short yards and ran when they needed to in those situations. And they got their 4 yards, their 6 yards, their 8 yards. The lack of awareness on downfield passes has got to stop, whether it be holding or pass interference. Those are drive killers. Now, the 4th and goal play that Kenai Walker got called for on pass interference, it may have been debatable, but that's pass interference. He had his arm hooked on Harrison Wallace. So those are things you have to clean up if you want to compete in the SEC and get to the point to where you can win 8-9 games a year.
What do you think of the defensive line? They did a decent job of stopping the run, but not enough pressure.
No, not enough pressure, and their lack of depth was exposed. We knew, you and I knew that Ole Miss was going to go fast. We saw that against Arkansas State. A lot of teams like to go up tempo now. If you can wear out the big guys, that gives you a little bit of an edge. So we knew Ole Miss was going to go fast. And when they went fast, it was hard to get lined up for some of those guys. David Oki made a play on a little screen route. That was good to see. But there's not enough of them, Wes. That's the problem. You need 7 or 8 of those guys that you can rotate in. When you can say squad A, squad B, you're up, that takes a lot of the up-tempo style out of the game. And Arkansas just doesn't have that. Philip Lee went down right away early on, and he came back. I'm a big Philip Lee fan. I think he's one of those guys that, reminds me of Auburn linebackers from the mid-'90s, 6'4", 250, and can fly. So I would have liked to have seen more three-man front. But that's me. I want the ability to have more exotic blitzes or more stunts. If you have a 3-3 stack, you can move your guys a lot of different ways. And Ole Miss just had a great game plan for Arkansas.
Coach Pittman said several times today that they had to simplify things there to make things easier so the guys can just run around and play football. Do you think they were confused?
I do. I absolutely agree. The play that epitomizes that is the touchdown pass that Austin Simmons threw to Harrison Wallace. You have guys that are looking to the left and they're looking down. It's and I'll bring my 5-year-old up with this to get her attention. I'm like, okay, darling, look over here. And that's all Ole Miss had to do. And Wallace runs right around the back of the end zone. And there was nobody within 15 yards of him. Simmons could have thrown that off his right foot, left foot, backside. It didn't matter. He could have thrown it underhanded. So plays like that and the Daquan Wright one just, as a fan, just got to me. As an old coach, it irritated me because I could see what was going on in those situations. The lack of breaking down and tackling in space. Those are old problems that manifested itself in Oxford, Mississippi that need to be corrected.
Yeah, the Daquan Wright. The two receivers just did a little cross down the seam and picked off one of the corners and got in the way. But I didn't like his effort to get back into the play after he kind of got picked off. He kind of jogged down and ended up pushing out of bounds, I think at the 1. But when that happens, you got to go hair on fire to make up for that ground.
Yeah, it's a simple vertical switch route. It was a vertical switch clear out is what it was. And it's a staple of the Ole Miss offense. Gus Malzahn really used to run it back in the day. But all you do is cross and have a clear out come underneath, and it's pick your poison. If they didn't switch, you got a 60-yard bomb. If the safety's back, throw it underneath. So I talked about that in a preseason article, and I was like, hopefully Travis Williams and that Marcus Woodson get the defensive backs to identify when a vertical switch happens.
We saw this with Ole Miss last year in Fayetteville, but there were other times, and people were down on the defense. But they played it well at times last year, very well at times last year. Is this correctable? Do you see things out of the defense that gives you hope that in 2 weeks against Notre Dame or heck, next week against Memphis or Tennessee, will this be fixed so that it's not one of those type of games where the defense can't stop them at all?
Yeah, there's two things I learned a long time ago, and I relayed that on to my players when I was coaching. There's two things you control on a daily basis. That's work ethic and attitude. Now, there's a lot of things that come off of that in different branches, but those are the two things you control on a daily basis. Your effort when you go out there and keeping a consistent attitude, not getting too high or too low in any situation. That's how you're successful, whether it be selling widgets, playing football, baseball, as a pitcher, doesn't matter. You control those two things, you've got the chance to be successful. So if they can correct the effort, that was one of the things that they need to correct. And just the alignment. If you want to make it simple, okay, make it simple. Okay, we're going to line up in a 4-2. You've got him. We're going to twist stunt right here. It doesn't have to be complicated. The overcomplication of defenses is running rampant now because these offenses, while they think they're complicated, they're really not. Ole Miss was not running anything too complicated. That they line up in various sets, they'll show some eye candy. That was the same thing that Gus Malzahn used to do. They're lined up to run the ball down your throat, and when you step up, they're going to throw it past you. It's football, but they just have to take the complication out of it for these guys. If they can't play complicated coverages, show your coverages. Be an athlete. Be 6'2", 215 on the edge, and play physical. Use it to your strengths. Play it to your strengths.
Yeah, I'm convinced Arkansas is an ill-timed fumble away from winning this game. And that the conversation would be going on in Oxford today about their defense and why they couldn't stop anybody and why they couldn't line up right. I mean, the Mike Washington touchdown run, Ole Miss just completely botched that, didn't line up right, and Arkansas just ran it over where they didn't have any numbers, touchdown, easy touchdown. So it's funny how one bad play, and that's where Arkansas is. Offensively, they can't make mistakes because of the defense, but they made the one mistake, and they lost the game.
Yeah, their margin of error is so small that adds a level of pressure that those guys don't need. The O-line played great. You talk about that play. When they lined up, I said, if they run it to the right here, that's 6 and more. I said, Washington's going to hit his head on the goalpost because Kittler and Branham were able to double team the nose. Branham got to the next level. The next level for Marion Harris was the safety That's how bad alignment they were in. And Pashka just kicked out on the guy that was out there, which was probably the corner at that point. So that was a perfect play call and a misalignment. So the thing that was different, and I pointed this out today, I said Ole Miss dominated. And I told Trey and Danny Connor on Saturday night, I said, if Arkansas wins this game, I don't know how I feel about it because Ole Miss dominated that game. While Arkansas did have 522 yards of offense and they led the statistical categories, whether it be passing or they didn't lead passing, but rushing and a lot of other things, those were hard-earned yards a lot of the times. Green scrambling, making adjustments after they double-teamed Green on a read option. Ole Miss's were very easy. They were low-maintenance yards where they didn't have to do a whole lot. So that's why I said Ole Miss dominated. But yeah, I didn't know how I would feel about it. And it just so happens we didn't have to worry about that because Jaylen Brown, Ole Miss still flew to the football. That was the difference in the game right there. They still flew to the football. The number 16, the Williams kid, I like him. He got called for holding on the interception that was overturned in the end zone. He grabbed Jaden Platt, got a holding call, but I like him. He plays fast. He plays downhill. That was the speed that I talked to you about earlier today. Mike Washington found out real quick on the zone stretch play that those safeties come downhill fast. That's SEC speed right there.
Yeah. What about the offensive line? I'm very impressed. I mean, no sacks given up. They were able to run the ball. I know Coach Pittman wants to be able to run the ball better on first down. He pointed out the third quarter that they weren't getting enough yards on first down, making it tougher on second and third down. But I feel like the offensive line has made a significant jump this year. How do you feel?
They really have because you're able to run two different running schemes, two different rushing attacks. You can have a zone-based scheme to where you're leaving some guys unblocked and you're just blocking an area, or you can have a gap-based scheme to where you can block the man in front of you. It's either on, inside, outside, or over. So those guys can do either of those. And we saw that on Saturday. The touchdown run that Washington had, and then all the zone read plays, when they're able to make adjustments a lot faster this year. And I made the comment last week during our 5 burning questions and keys to victory that, yeah, the left side is stronger, but that right side is really good now. It allows Bobby Petrino to be, he can be ambidextrous in how he calls plays. You don't have to run it to the left all the time. You don't have to throw it to the right all the time to have your backside protected. So their ability to make adjustments on the fly and learn quicker is the biggest thing that they've taken a step forward to this season.
It's Kevin Bohannon, hogsports.com. Check him out over there. I said we would just keep you for about 15 minutes, and that's about it. Yeah. Your final thoughts, and I'll let you get out of here.
I think it'll be a close game this weekend. Having watched Memphis, you can go to hogsports.com and look at my advanced look. We've got a lot of good information on Memphis out there right now. I think their quarterback is a little bit better than Jalen Raynor. He's about the same guy, 6'1", 200, shifty in the pocket, can throw it downfield. Arkansas definitely has an advantage. The margin of victory this weekend will be determined how hungry they are to come back and put Ole Miss behind them.
Let's bring in our more sports player of the week, Enoch Assan, running back from Greenbrier. What a game you had on Friday night. Let me just start with that. What's it like? Is it almost like a basketball player when they're in the zone? Is it the same for a running back?
Yes, sir. I believe it's something along the lines of that. Whenever I run the ball, it just comes out. I practice so much, that whenever I get in the game, it's just like automatic. I don't have to think about it. I just do. Kind of like being in the zone. So yeah, it's good.
This is the numbers that I was given: 323 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns against Van Buren. Is that correct?
That is.
Who gets to go back and watch that film and make sure they're not off a yard or two?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do that just to make sure, that my stats are up to date. But yeah.
What was your favorite run against Van Buren?
My favorite one was that run I had on the second play where I hit the hole, broke an arm tackle, and ran for 60 or something like that. So yeah, it was good. Showed the acceleration.
I think we may have highlights of that. That may be one of the runs. Is this the run right here when you break the tackle?
No, sir. It was the second one, I believe. The second one.
Well, that was pretty good too, right?
It was pretty good, but yeah, I like the other one better.
All right. You're obviously a very talented running back, but what about your offensive line?
Yes, sir. I feel like I have a great offensive line. They come in every single week and they get the job done. I feel like they work really hard every week in and week out to make sure that I can come on Fridays and eat. I just have a lot of respect for them.
Describe yourself as a running back. What makes you such a good running back?
I feel like I have good acceleration, change direction, and I've been getting better with my breakaway speed and versatility. But really, just the change of direction, acceleration that I have is good. That makes me so good.
Okay, I want to know what's the secret to getting faster? Because I would love to be faster. How do you get faster?
I just do speed work. I practice plyometrics and just sprint a lot. I sprinted a lot over the summer, and I just did a lot of football stuff. So just being quick and fast in those first 10 yards. So yeah, that's how I got faster.
Do you think that's what's the difference is? Why now you got your first Division I offer from UCA over the weekend? Is that what you think? Increasing your speed has increased your value for these colleges?
Yes, sir. I believe that and being able to catch the ball in the backfield, that's played a big role in getting offers.
How did it feel to get that offer from UCA?
Really good, especially getting to talk to the coach and know that he really does. He's in my corner and he really does like me as a running back. After having to wait for so long, it's good to know that he really does like me.
What has the season gone as planned, or has it already exceeded your expectation? I mean, because this is your second 300-yard rushing game, right?
Yes, sir. I kind of did expect. I planned to do this, but I mean, yeah, no, it's been going great. It's been going great to just to be able to put it, because you always have a vision in your head of what you want to go ahead and do during the season, but when you actually get to do it, it's kind of surreal. So yeah, it was definitely great.
Do you have a goal to beat this 300-yard? I mean, are we thinking 400?
Hopefully I'll be able to get one of those games, one of the games like that. But no, I really don't have any set goals other than just to win games and do everything I can to make sure I can win.
Season total goals, anything like that?
No, sir. Hopefully I could beat my previous record, but I feel like I'll definitely do that with how I'm going right now.
What was your previous record?
It was 2,003 rushing yards, so somewhere around that.
That was last year?
Yes, sir, that was last year.
All right. Tell me about the team after 3 weeks. How are you guys doing?
I feel like we're doing great. Our confidence is at an all-time high after winning 3 games. Just a big thing that we've had to make sure we keep ourselves honest with is making sure that we don't let the success get to our head and just handle it the right way. Keep on working hard and just going in day in and day out and making sure we take care of business. Our defense, I feel like, has really stepped up and has done what they needed to do to make sure that this team can win. Van Buren, they held them at 1 point to 3 points, and we were at 27. And they came in, and I feel like defense wins games, and our defense has been playing good enough to win. And Russellville, the week before that, they held Russellville to 0. Even in the 2s and the 3s, we're holding them to no points. So, it's impressive just coming in. We had a lot of sophomores, so I was thinking maybe they'd be a little bit more shaky and, just not used to playing varsity. But, no, they proved me wrong. They played a bit good, And I feel like our offense is very explosive. We got a lot of playmakers, a lot more playmakers than y'all might think. We have a lot of playmakers. We have receivers that can go all day. I think we have a couple receivers that deserve more exposure and recognition than they get because I run the ball so much. But their time will come, And I feel like I got a good line. I got a couple people on the line that deserve offers and deserve to get more attention than they do. But it's all part of the plan. They'll wake up eventually.
Do you take any snaps on defense?
No, sir, I don't. A little bit of snaps during the benefit game last year Batesville, and then after that I just went full running back. So
how about your bye week? What do you plan to do to take advantage of some time off?
I plan to work. I plan to work hard. Take a week to where I can really focus on just fundamentals and making sure that I can just sharpen up anything that I've been struggling with these past couple of weeks. Just looking at the film, reflecting off of what I need to do. And hopefully get in the weight room a little bit more this week, because I haven't been. It's less than the off season going every single day. It's like 3 days during the 3 days a week during the season. So hopefully I can get in the weight room a little bit more, just stuff like that, and also recovery too, making sure I'm recovering and rest and make sure I'm ready to play whenever next week comes.
How tall and how much do you weigh?
I'm 5'7", 190.
Okay. How do you plan to use your Friday night? What are you going to do on Friday night without a game?
Ooh, I might go and watch. I might go and watch a game. You know, I was thinking about going to watch Conway, but they had a bye week, so I might go up to Little Rock and watch a game or something like that. Just figure out a football game to watch.
Y'all got a pretty big game coming up after the bye week, right?
Sir, yeah, that's gonna be a really big game to be at and just to win. Yeah, that game means a lot.
That's Morrilton, right?
Sir, Morrilton. Yes, sir. They get to come to us this year, so it'll be really good. It'll be a decent game.
What are your memories from that game last year?
It was, man. Well, I feel like it was a shootout last year. You know, came down to the end. It came down to an controversial call. I feel like we really should have had that first down, but I mean, you can't control the rest. You just gotta play. You know, just gotta play.
How do you feel after 3 weeks?
How do I feel after 3 weeks? I feel confident about our team. You know, I feel like we have a strong brotherhood, and we know how to band together and get the job done. So I don't feel like anybody can stop us. Anybody on our schedule or anybody in 5A.
How about physically? As a running back, you take hits.
Yeah, I've been doing better with mitigating the damage that I take from hits. You know, and just making sure I take the right hits. I feel pretty good. I mean, I feel like I can play this week. So
Awesome. Well, Enoch, man, it was a pleasure getting to know you and talking. And congratulations on being the More Sports Player of the Week. What a fantastic start of the season for you. Thank you so much.
yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you.
Let's get Coach Tribble in here while Enoch gets him. We'll take a look at those highlights from this past week. Just an outstanding player. You can see the agility, the speed here to outrun everybody, and the vision too. I mean, that's what really jumps out of the page for me. We got Coach Tribble in. Coach, while we're playing these highlights, what is it in your opinion that makes Enoch so special? What some of his attributes?
Well, he has great quickness and great acceleration. Sometimes I think for about 10 or 15 yards, I think he's the fastest football player I've ever seen, you know, but he's really strong. He can make, his ability to cut and change his direction. You know, he just got a lot of tools there. His top end speed has really improved from last year to this year. Just because of his dedication and work and intensity he works at. He's improved that top end speed. People last year, you know, people would run him down a little bit after he accelerated and popped out of there. You know, he would get run down sometime, but he hadn't got to run down this year like that.
Coach, if you would adjust that camera for me a little bit so we can see you. He was, I guess he's a little shorter than you, and we could see him a little bit better.
Right.
Coach, you were just talking about some of his great things about him. You've coached a lot of good players. Where does he kind of rank up there in players that you've coached?
Well, here at Greenbrier, this is my 18th year, and he's definitely the best running back. You know, we've had some pretty good running backs that rushed for about 1,700 yards or something like that. But Enoch he's just a special kid. He's got talent, but any award he gets, you know, he deserves it because he has elite work ethic and focus. You know, I've spent a lot of hours here in our indoor facility when everybody was going home, but Enoch was still working during the spring and winter, and you know, he's always trying to do some extra to make himself better, and he's a great teammate and a great young man.
He seems very humble and obviously driven. He has some things that he wants to accomplish in life.
That's for sure. He works at it. He doesn't just wish he could be good. He does something to make himself better every day.
Does it make it easy or more difficult as an offensive coordinator when you got a running back like that? The temptation is you got to give it to him as many times as possible, but then you can't wear him out, and then the other teams start to. What's it do for an offensive coordinator to have a guy like that?
Well, it's all positive in my book. You know, if whether we're handing it to him or acting like we're going to hand it to him and throwing a play action pass, you know, people have to honor that. So we think it makes everything better. And He's a guy that you can't run him to. You really can't wear him out. He's as good or better in the fourth quarter as he is in the early part of the game. So it's all positive. Whether you're handing it to him, he'll go block. He'll pass protect, and sometimes we get in the split backs, and every now and then we give it to somebody else, and he does a great job blocking too. He's just a great teammate and a guy that wants to be a complete football player. He did not naturally catch a football good when he got to high school. He dropped a lot of passes in practice and stuff, but he has worked and worked and worked on his ability to catch the ball. And here, it's really he's caught a lot more in practice than he has in games, but it's just been amazing his improvement in catching the football.
He thought increasing his speed and showing that he could catch is opening the door for more colleges. He got the offer from UCA over the weekend. Do you think that's, once that first Division I offer comes, there's more coming?
Probably so. He actually has an offer from Southeast Missouri State University. They're the same level as UCA. He got that back in the summer. But I just think people, Enoch bet on himself. He didn't commit to anybody back in the summer because he believed he was going to be a better, more explosive football player this fall, and he believed in himself, and he waited, and he is showing people that he's a lot better than he was his junior year.
I'm curious, when someone hands you the stat sheet, like after week 1 or this past week 3, and you see 300 plus yards, do you know during the game, or do you have a clue what he has?
No, I didn't. I knew he rushed for a lot, but I didn't know that he had 313 and about that same thing after week 1. I think he probably had 200, or something like that. But sometimes you look at it and think, oh, we let him carry it 33 times. Wow. But this past week, of course, he averaged, he had 22 carries for 313. So he's averaging, 14, 15 yards to carry. But he had those couple of big ones, 60 or 70 yarders. So that adds up pretty quick. But I am surprised sometimes when I look at the stats, because we only ran 40 something plays this past game. And so, when you have a game where you run 60 or 70, you know that he's going to get a lot of carries, but I am surprised sometimes at how much he's gained. Of course, he had a 50-something yard reception right before half that, and so his total offense was up there in the high threes.
Yeah. Do you have to limit the number of touches or even kind of keep an eye on it?
Well, I think 33 is the most that he's had, and we let him he's not going to take himself out much, but we'll take him. Last year we took him out of the games at times. Just if he carried it 4 times in a row, we'd take him out a couple plays, and he'd be biting. We're just ready to fight and get back in real quick. But I think he can handle in the 30s, and hopefully some games we don't need him to carry it a whole lot in the fourth quarter, and we can hold those down a little bit. But he's a strong. He practices so hard. He'll bust a run and we'll blow the whistle so he doesn't run 80, and he'll still run a long way down there before we can get him back to run the next play. So he really gets himself in great shape.
I love watching him run. We'll take a look at those highlights while we let you go. Coach, thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and really congratulations for Enoch being the More Sports Player of the Week.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
What a great young man, Enoch Assan. Congratulations to him for being the More Sports Player of the Week. I also want to congratulate and give a shout out to Poen's Caden Townley. 332 yards receiving Friday night. That is the third most in a game in state history. Caden Townley for Poen, and also Joe T. Robinson's Deuce Williams. He had over 300 yards of total offense Friday night. Kickoff returns, receiving, running. Deuce did a little bit of everything. He won our fan vote with 61%, but our media vote made it a no-brainer. We had to go with Enoch Assan, 300 yards rushing, over 300 yards rushing for the second time this season. I want to thank Enoch, Coach Tribble, and also Kevin Bohannon, hogsports.com, for joining us tonight. We'll be back at it tomorrow night. We're going to unveil the More Sports High School Football Team of the Week. That voting's going on right now on Twitter. You can go on Twitter, Wes_Moore, and find that poll and vote on it. But we will name the high school football team of the week tomorrow night, and we'll talk more Razorbacks football as they get ready for Memphis this weekend. That's going to do it. But remember, we'll be back here tomorrow night with more sports.
All Arkansas, all sports.